1 minute and we will see. We do have opposing PD arrays currently on the ES. So we have our 8:30 and our midnight here. If we're going to stay heavy, we'll struggle to get above that. If we want to see higher prices, kind of like we do, right? Running out these lows, revisiting previous day's high, and then clearing midnight again would be a pretty good indication. Here we go. So yeah, previous day's high, pretty much, we'll label that, but pretty much the 4 hours midpoint, exactly. So quick opening, up first, clear a little high. Hitting this little rejection block. We'll still look for this low to be cleared here. If we can actually leave this intact, that'd be nice, right? So leave the buy side for now. If our idea is we want to see that buy side being targeted, we'd actually like to see this fail to target that first. Just create another swing high here, then attack the low. Revisit previous day's highs, we're saying. That'll leave some buy side now behind to target if we are going to go back up. Opening range midpoint, anchored inside that 4 hour as well. So I like that. We'll wait for this 4 hour first. If we just kind of run from here, we'll miss out on that. I like to see us interact with the 4 hour before we look for anything. Okay, so far, looks like we'll leave another short-term high there, lower high, right? We create the high, lower high, lower high. There's that 4 hour once again. Want to get a little bit deeper inside of it, actually pick up some of these lows. Notice we haven't done that. So the first time we retest that 4 hours here, we barely pick that low up. I want to see us do that one more time. So kind of a true run of that. Pick up this most recent short-term low here as well. Bring up NQ just so we could see what it's up to as well this morning. Okay, so far mixed. NQ's already cleared that low. We'll see if ES can catch up to that. Potential SMT here. Okay. So far, pretty much what we expected here. Slow choppiness. We're really not expecting high probability movements until after tomorrow afternoon. So here in NQ, we're consolidating right at that old low. As we said, we actually were able to pick up that low in NQ, regardless to ES. What I would look for in NQ, we did already invert that. So I'm looking at this little volume imbalance here. We got above it once. If we're going to try to go bullish, we'll try to hold above that. We closed above it here. We immediately closed below it. As we say, that's a signature that will often lead to continued delivery in the continued direction we close, so lower, kind of like we see here. NQ is already heavier, so it's giving a lot heavier break. ES still really stuck there. Doesn't want to get into that 4 hour. So we're still going to wait for that. We'll see if NQ creates a fair value gap first one this morning. Honestly, I still favor longs in both. So in NQ, even though we are a little bit lower, we would look for previous day's high. That's also midpoint of its opening range. If we can leave this first presented open, let's move this real quick. There we go. So we have midpoint here, we have previous day's high. If we can engage that and then invert this, I would like that as a long opportunity. Right, target these relative equal highs that we've left up here. And yes, we haven't even been able to get that low yet, so we'll see what happens. Fair value gap should stay open, it looks like. It will. Okay. So yeah, if we're going to favor longs, we want to see this now be inverted. First presented has been created in NQ. We'll have to use that to almost gauge ES in a way, trading what's not in the chart. So we're watching this here. I'm almost convinced this would work here. Turtle soup to low. Especially if we were to invert this fair value gap here. We fell short, just short, barely, of midpoint here. So in my mind, we can actually hold this, create one more bearish displacement to actually clear that short-term low, tag midpoint, and tag previous day's high. We've respected it once, so we'll see if we can hold that now. If we invert it, we'll still have that same idea that we can invert it and run long. That's technically what we want to see. We're just seeing how much lower we'll have to go first. Not one fair value gap so far in ES. Very ugly. If we're going to get to midpoint. Yeah. Just gauging. That would be like a 1. Cool. Did we get that low? Nope. Equal lows here in ES. Retesting first presented in NQ. Still fell short of this low, so retesting first presented. We'll see if that holds one more time. We can get a little choppy here. I'd like to see this low be picked up first now at this point. See if ES can't get into previous day's high. That's kind of the main objective. There it is beautifully. Okay. So now we've pretty much delivered into our objectives here. Here's where we can wait and see now what we get. Still no fair value gap, so NQ will be a little easier to gauge if it can invert that first presented. In ES, we'll more so look for volume imbalance. Maybe we'll create a fair value gap here now. I wouldn't mind that. If we can create that fair value gap as we clear this consolidation, that'd be good PD rate to now watch and just see what occurs there. So we'll have to wait, of course, but if we can leave that fair value gap, especially if it's aligned with this old low, right? If it's perfectly aligned there, we could look for that to become our inversion. We got into midpoint like we wanted to see. We actually cleared this low as well. So we pick up every liquidity that's inside of our higher time frame, 4 hour. Now it's just a matter of whether or not we want to reverse and start going higher. Let's say we fall below this 4 hour fair value gap. We get closure below it. At that point, we would look for 4 hour low here. That'll get us these equal lows here. Yeah, okay. Cool. So we did leave that fair value gap. We also have closed below previous day's high, however. So closing below midpoint of this and closing below previous day's high, that'll lead us to believe it's going to continue to run at least into the low of the 4 hour. Once we engage with the low of the 4 hour, then we can wait and see if we can get that retracement. At this point, we want to see an inversion here if we're going to try to go long. We respected this the first time, held it beautifully, and now we're just printing lower. Previous day's high as well. So pretty good area here in both of these. We'll see if we can get that reversal. If that volume imbalance stays open, we may be looking a little more bearish now. We closed right on the low of this. We open with the bearish volume imbalance. We'll see if this can fully negate and get back above previous day's high. If it does, that'll be the first indication that we want to start going bullish. And then we'll look for the inversion here. Conversely, this is the first time we're testing midpoint after closing below here as well. So same idea, right? We should either hold this and continue bearish. If we can close above it, we should run bullish. Whoa. We are going to leave that. Wow. Okay. So if we're going to do that, we're actually going to look for, we might look for today's low. I like the daily open here. We fall right through that 4 hour fair value gap. We hold from previous day's high. We reject that. We leave the volume imbalance open. 4 hours should hold price at this point, the low of it. And we'll expect price to kind of just melt lower. Right, because this is all balanced. We don't really need to return up here. Closure below previous. Okay. 1 hour, 5 hour, 4 hour. Yeah, we'll look for price to continue lower. We're going to use the 4 hour. And then we'll look for, where's our, it's a little lower than we'd like. We'll go light risk. First trade back in a couple days, just getting back into it. So we're going to use the 4 hour paired with our volume imbalance. We're going to try to use that as an inversion to get back into our daily open. Large bearish candle here. Hopefully we can actually get the high of it. Right now we hit the low of that volume imbalance perfectly. It may just want to use that. We are allowing for pretty much previous day's high to be retested. Higher than that, we'll look for the stop. And we're fine with the stop here because if we do get all the way back above here at this point, that'll actually kind of be a flip point for us, and we'll be interested in now looking for the longs once again. But for now, we'll look for daily open to be revisited. Daily low, kind of like daily low. We'll partial and see if we can't make a new low of day. Oh. We'll see if we get entry there. Breaking from there would be tough. At this point, just waiting for that retracement. We've perfectly delivered into the volume imbalance high. So if we end up being unlucky here and we get perfect delivery, we're gonna miss this entry. Closure below this will be unfortunate. As we said, that's perfect. That's tough. We're gonna give it a second here. We're at a point where I think we can consolidate, run this high, and still hold. So we're gonna actually leave the entry until we get into our final target. If we get into the daily open, actually, we'll probably move it as well. Maybe we should have just used the low of it. No, I think we get one more. Especially if we don't close below this. Cool, we didn't. But now we're stuck here, so there it is. So we're showing consolidation signatures here, right? We don't want to actually close below this low. We're still in that range. If we can now, we'll run out that short-term high. We'll still look for the 4 hour to try to hold us. 5-minute fair value gap here. 5-minute volume imbalance. 15-minute fair value gap as well, potentially. Admittedly, we would have liked to see this candlestick actually close below this low. That gives us indication that price is willing to continue lower. Right, and then we would have looked for the retracement to clear the short-term high. This is much more a run on stops in our opinion. So like a short-term low being cleared. If we were to displace above this swing high, that's going to be a bullish kind of market structure shift. So now that we retest our entry, we'll see what we get. We'd want this to be more so a wick. So if we get tagged in, we'd want to see it wick into the 4 hour, ideally, right, hold the volume balance with the body, not close above that. Same thing in NQ. It just ran that low, didn't actually close below it. We do have a bearish fair value gap in NQ, which is nice. That may actually stop ES from being able to get back up here in here though. Da, 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 da. Okay, yeah, so not much to do here. Simply looking for that retracement. And as we say, once we get tagged in, we'll be able to gauge a little bit better what price may want to do from there. If we invert this fair value gap in NQ, that may be an issue as well. We still didn't test first presented, so we've only tested it once. It held nicely. We have a short-term high just below that. We could actually run that high, retest first presented, and still hold from there. So I don't mind where we are currently in both of these. Hitting that volume imbalance low there. We'll see if we can get the high of it. All right, so there's the actual high. We're able to clear that short-term high. As you said, this will be a pretty good indication right away, the closure of this candlestick. Ideally, we close below the volume imbalance or right on it, one of those two. We just kind of want to stay in this range. So we like that. We'd want to see this be a swing high now though. So this candle would pretty much need to run bearish immediately. Stay bearish. Don't give any wick to the upside ideally. And make an attempt to now close below this low here, right? This is the original range low that we've been wicking. If we can now get below that, that should set into motion the bearishness that we're looking for. So we'd want to see that become a true bearish break in structure by closing below that level there. Right now, it's simply a short-term low that's been cleared. As we said, we're going to keep it light today. We want to secure partials at 5 handles if we can. That'll give us here for a partial. Okay, wow. Wow. We'll partial there. What? Are we lagging right now? What's going on? Did we hit that final target? I guess we're out there. I mean, okay. I'm not going to complain about that. That's fine. We should get our target still, though. So we're going to... What was our target even? Low of day. Here. That's target. Oh, there it is, yeah. I mean, that's fine. Damn trading view, bruh. That's annoying. That's fine, though. That was final exit. Beautiful. Okay. Nice. Well, I mean, we'll be done there. As you said, we're going to wait for tomorrow to really look for anything substantial. We'll follow it a little bit longer, pretty early, so we'll give you some more time, but that's our trade. Pretty simple. That's what we said. 4 hour was pretty much the gauge for us this morning. We wanted to see it run into the 4 hour first, and then we were going to look for longs off the 4 hour. We said if we fall right through the 4 hour, that's going to be more bearish, however. That's exactly what happens. Before we even do that, we're noticing how we close below midpoint. We respect midpoint. This candle then respects midpoint in previous day's high, leaves the volume imbalance open, anchored to the 4 hour. Very easy entry. Short-term high there, right? Turtle soup. So everything was aligned for that short. We run up into it, we catch the swing high, and then we run right into our target there. Those are the trades we like to see. Pretty much no drawdown, immediate delivery. And now we got to chill. So from here, though, pretty interesting to notice. Our first presented in ES is actually anchored perfectly to the low of our opening range here. So I actually would be... Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see continued bearishness. So we're going to look for here now to hold price. And we're going to look for first presented here from this week to be the new objective. We already cleared low of day. So yeah, we'll look for first presented formed on Monday. Honestly, I don't mind trying that. We're going to go in with one more. Because we clear that short-term high too. I like that. We'll go lower risk. Just one. So pretty much that way, if we take a loss, right, we still end up in profit. That's how we like to do it. And this will be simply more of a one-to-one. Not aiming for anything crazy here. Just looking for that final push into Monday's first presented, if we can get into there. As you said, NQ held that fair value gap nicely. That's what we wanted to see there. So we'll just look for that bearishness to continue. We'll just hop on with the trend until it proves us otherwise. Conversely, we'd want NQ to hold as well. All right, so just continue that bearishness. Hold all of the premiums that it's been forming. Volume imbalance here. We may get stuck there. Hoping we can at least get this fair value gap. As we said, that's perfectly aligned with the opening range low. And it's this low as well. So that's not random. Right, that we create that low first perfectly. We displace through that low. That's going to be the heavy area of resistance if we're going to stay heavy. We like that for entry. And really stop could even be like here. Like a trade like this, we wouldn't expect this fair value gap to be filled in fully. So this is where you can get a little bit tighter with the stop, right? Like go right at the high of it. Because we already profited and it is only one contract, we're fine giving it a little bit more room. But if you're someone that wants to get a little tighter stops, this is a chance where you could do that using only the inefficiency, not the swing point. Because in reality, I'm looking at this wick here as the more of the gap. So even though we have this whole fair value gap here, in my mind, this wick is what should hold price. So I wouldn't even want to see the high of that get breached, which means this fair value gap should get left open, a portion of it at least. May miss it though. If we get into that, we'll just chalk this one up. Simply trying to go from first presented into first presented, right? Easy. Those are those little easy trades that we like to find. 5 handles. From similar PD arrays. These ones are always nice because we could even be wrong on overall direction and still profit, right, in the short term. Like say we do go from here into first presented and then rip higher. We don't even need to catch a larger move lower at all. I don't mind the consolidation here. I like that. If we can consolidate around old previous day's low, current day's low technically, right, low of day, then run into the inefficiency, leaving some lows and then attacking those lows would be perfect. So for the time being, I'd actually like to see this low try to hold price. Sell side here. Even better if we can keep higher lows like this. So we do have a little SMT here. NQ did clear that low. I'm still not convinced, even if we form SMT here. I think we would just go up to break lower in ES. So we're still looking for that. We want to see the sell side continue to hold. Revisiting volume imbalance, let's get above that. Best case scenario is that we just wick this fair value gap and hold the bodies below the volume imbalance. If we end up closing above the volume imbalance, we could still hold from here. It just wouldn't be as ideal as we would like to see. Not as clean anyways. So we're looking for something that pierces the fair value gap but holds the volume imbalance with bodies, ideally. Let's see if we can pierce that real quick. Hopefully this is not the break. We just cleared the equal high, so I'm hoping that that's not what price wanted to do, was just run equal highs, hold the volume imbalance, and then break, because we'll miss out on this trade. NQ was able to get into its fair value gap again, so yeah, we may miss this depending on how we close here. Ideally, we need to close above midpoint of this body. Okay, so we're probably going to miss this here. With NQ getting that short-term high and revisiting the fair value gap, that's going to lead to a break. We'll watch for closure below the sell side. If we can hold that sell side, we still have a chance. Short-term high now just below the inefficiency. That's a good little target. Turtle soup. Pretty much what we see here, right? We create that short-term high just below our actual area of entry. We can run that high now, hold the inefficiency, and then break. That's if it wants to consolidate, right? If, as we say, if that was the true move, that was like kind of like the last stab into liquidity, we'll just break from here. So now we have to watch the original sell side. That's going to be the gauge. If we get closure below this old daily low, we're going to attack this low here. If we can maintain that, we have another chance of running this high, staying stuck in this consolidation for a little bit. 10 o'clock now, so the first half hour of the morning has played out. Still have plenty of time to put in a lower opening morning range. NQ runs that high again. Shoot. Maybe NQ would have been the better play. We should have been doing that. Seems more willing to give a retracement. Closure below. That's not good. So we're going to look for this now to offer us resistance. We'll probably attack this low. After clearing this low, if we can fall short of our first percentage, we will still leave this entry because it'll pretty much be a carbon copy of what happened here. Short-term low, right? Retracement into the inefficiency. Quick break of that low without delivering into our final target, and then retracement. Oh, well, all right. So from there, we just missed it. Right, as we said, it wanted to use the volume imbalance. That's unfortunate. Quite literally one tick away from entry. But we can't complain about it. Right, we had the good short already. So we said those are pretty simple trades. They're pretty easy. Just a matter of if it wants to give you there or not. You could have went with the volume imbalance, but low barrier for entry. That would have been valid. Just a little bit too low of an RR for me. I like having at least 1 to 1.5. So from here now, pretty interesting. We have yet to close below. Let's show NQ real quick in its entirety. Right, we have yet to close below the opening range in NQ. We've cleared the short-term low. We got into Monday's first presented. From here, I wouldn't mind, honestly, a little retracement, especially because NQ is kind of holding that low so aggressively. So we'll look for an inversion play. If NQ can invert here, for ES, that would translate to leaving an inefficiency here and then inverting that. It looks like we're not going to do that. No inefficiency to go off of, so no inversion play. We could go with the old purge and revert. I do like that a lot, actually. So we're going to see if we can close above the old low. We're going to go with the purge and revert entry. We're going to use the original low here to enter. You'll notice that it's actually a 1 hour fair value gap too. So I like that. So now we're waiting to see if price can close above the old low. We get that. We'll look for then a quick retracement into that. This low really should be protected. And that should give us, okay, that'll be a pretty nice trade there. Easy. And then we'll just look for midpoint of that opening range there. Or the first presented, excuse me. Okay. It's all about the closure though, right? So this, at this point, sell side becomes our signal for entry. If we don't get below that or above that, we have nothing to do here. We might have missed the entry. We'll see if that holds from there and then accelerates away. This could be a risk entry, so no confirmation. Like say that you were fully convinced and we trust that this low is going to be all first presented. You could enter right away here. Stop like this. And that'll give you a 1 to 2 if we got back into our first presented, right? Easy trade. These are ones where I take lower risk as far as like what you're risking, because it's lower probability, no true confirmation. If anything, closing back below, right? This candlestick closed back below this old low, that's more bearish. So seeing that, I'd almost would expect this low to be cleared, which is why we were waiting for the sell side anyways. Very specific things in price that we need to see before we're okay to go ahead and engage again. Once again, fair value gap. One old sell side. All right, you see how it's unwilling to get above right there? That means there's nothing for us to do still. Still favoring running lower. Same in NQ, right? Every time we're running this high, we're just wicking him. That leads us to believe it's going to fall out of bed, pretty much like we see here, right? Or here, or here. Price will often take the elevator down after consolidating like this. We're pretty much looking at the same framework, just a different PD array. Right? So in ES, we're looking at the sell side pull, the old daily low. In NQ, we're utilizing that fair value gap. That becomes the flip point for us in both. Admittedly, this is kind of where, like, I would advise if you guys had that trade, or if you took this one here like we did, we would be done. We've been gone for a few days, so I want to give a little bit more time, but for max safety, and what I would really do, after you have a trade like that, especially with FOMC tomorrow, we would have walked away, closed the charts, and been content. See if we get that displacement. Can we get above? If we can get above both at the same time, that would be nice. As we said, we're really holding that original entry idea there. At this point, we're going to want to see 2 closures above, not just 1. Nope, still can't do it. So nothing to do still. Just waiting. We'll watch this in NQ. This should hold bullish if we're going to start going bullish. That wick there. Which means we should see the original liquidity hold, right? We're getting pretty much squeezed right between that. The most recent sell side and the actual true old low of day, right? This is the kind of the higher priority liquidity. Major liquidity, we would call that, versus minor liquidity here. Nice, okay. Yeah, that's why we wait. Right, very clear barriers to entry. If they aren't met, there's nothing to do. That's a little bit more bearish. Closing above and then negating that, as we say. That's a signature that we've come to talk about a lot lately because it takes place mostly in like choppy markets like this, the fake outs we like to call them. But that's something we've seen a lot. So hopefully you guys are getting familiar with that. It's a good way to just gauge quick market interest, market sentiment. All right, so we picked up that low. We're still waiting, honestly. I still like the idea of trying to get higher. First presented, still holding nicely. Midpoint not being breached or anything like that. We're going to leave a fair value gap. Notice this, perfectly aligned now with that minor sell side. So that becomes our inversion play. We didn't have one originally. Now we're looking to create one. So if we can invert that, especially if it gets above this and the sell side in one swoop, that'll be an easy entry for us there. Closure below that, we'll probably stay heavy, to be honest, right? Because closing below a daily level and then respecting that, displacing below first presented, that's going to be bearish. And we would look for like all of these fair value gaps down here to be targeted. What kind of lows do we have in here? External range, internal range. Okay, so we got some more objectives in case we continue to fall. But as we said, I still would favor one more bullish run if we can. Although we are looking pretty heavy here, yeah. So like an NQ, I would fully expect this to go bearish now. Volume imbalance created as we leave that wick. Our retracement into the original fair value gap should be met with resistance. Something like that. Which means this fair value gap here would probably hold as well. Kind of liking this one here. Ooh, it's about to just run right away. Oh, okay. No entry there. I did like that short, but we run straight for that liquidity. So we're up. Nothing there. ES is going to stay heavy. So yeah, we'll look for, we close below that. First presented should hold now. One to 1.5 like that. Tapered that there. I just want to see higher prices, so we're a little hesitant to enter on the short at this point, especially after we already caught it and we're pretty low. But if we want to stay heavy, right, it's just going to hold that. So we're going to follow the bearish plays and wait for some type of potential inversion if it can give it to us. And if it doesn't, we'll just follow that short all the way down. Especially because, yeah, I like that, right? NQ still, anytime we've touched that low, we can't get below it. This is a little different because we did actually close below the opening range for the first time, but this candle can negate that and close right back inside of it. Especially if we close back above new day opening gap there, that's going to be pretty bullish. Like we just did. So I'd like to see this stay bullish now at this point. We clear that short-term low. Run back for that high. In ES, we're going to want to close above first presented. If we can close above first presented and this fair value gap in the same candle, we'll actually go ahead and use first presented for entry now. And we'll say that this becomes our new protected low, and we're going to just try to get back into this first presented that was created today. So this may be our final, or we might finally get that little reversal entry we've been looking for. Especially if we can leave that open. That'd be nice right there. Leave the volume imbalance open as we displace through the premium. Yeah, that'd be perfect. We can maintain that and close above it now. And then we'll look for the retracement into volume imbalance entry, which is aligned with the first presented. That'll be real nice. It'll be below the hourly opening. So if the hourly candle wants to run bullish, power of 3 will be entering below the open. I like it. I like it. Hopefully we don't just blast off from here though, because then we might use this candle here as our breaker and not give that deep retracement we're looking for. Oh, we might just go. All right, we're gonna enter now. We'll see if we can get the quick retracement with that displacement though. This seems more like we're just gonna blast off. Bullish breaker here. Oh wow, look at that. Breaker of mean threshold and the inversion, same exact, I mean, once again, not random. The exact same midpoint. We could get held at new day opening gap, but if we leave that fair value gap open, we might have to adjust the entry itself to the breaker. We're going to use the 1 hour for now. Stop will be right at the bodies. We shouldn't retest the wicks of those candles. We're going to leave the fair value gap paired with our breaker. That's a very strong signature. So yeah, we'll leave this here. Understanding we might not get the entry. If it's going to stay extremely bullish, it's just going to institutional order flow this case. So it'll trade into like the upper quadrant of this. Pretty much just this part right here. And it won't even get down into any lower pretty much. We'll see if that's the case. Or it'll just leave that as a breakaway gap too. That's a very real possibility with what time it is here. If that becomes the morning range low and it's going to try to make an attempt to come back into pretty much like previous day's high, it'll leave that as a breakaway gap because price in here has already been balanced. So if we're going to close above, let's hide. We don't need these right now. If we close above this new day opening gap, I actually would expect this fair value gap here to stay open. We want to see this being held for now, give that retracement, and then blast through that ideally. We'll even go a little bit low barrier. We'll use the midpoint of that, give us some room. Because yeah, we shouldn't even get back below first presented. Okay. If we can get into first presented here, we'll still leave this because that could be like a speed bump. Especially because we have that short-term high. We often say after clearing minor sell side or buy side, we can then retrace into untapped inefficiencies and then give us a continued move in the original direction. Right, so in this case, bullish, clear the buy side, retrace into the inefficiency, then create another bullish leg. We fell short, equal highs, nice. I wouldn't mind that actually. Leave the equal highs, fall short of first presented, give us that retracement entry. I am a little worried that it might just institutional order flow here. Yeah, if it does, we'll just miss out on that. That's fine. I'd rather have a little bit of a more precise entry. Cool. We're tapped in. We'll see what we get now. This will be last entry today. Still less than the original entry, right? So we take a loss here, still end in profit, which is why we're fine. If we get stopped, either way, as we said, we'll call it. Because now we'll probably either continue bearish or we'll just start consolidating inside of this first presented we created here. Beautiful. That's beautiful. That needs to stay the swing low, pretty much. Sitting pretty good here. We should be all right. Liking everything it's showing at this point, so not too stressed out about it. Should be able to at least run these equal highs. We'll partial at 5 handles, just in case we kind of get stuck. We can get stuck at this midpoint if we don't want to go any higher, right? That's first presented, so that'll be a pretty strong premium if we're going to stay stuck in a consolidation here. This turns into a swing low. Next candle should attack those relative equal highs. Beautiful. So swing low. You really could jam your stop loss under here. As you said, we're not too worried about this trade. We already had profit, so we're fine letting it breathe a little bit more. Or if you were anxious about the trade, that low should be protected, so you'd be perfectly fine putting stop right below that. We'll wait until we partial, and then we're just going to go straight to break even. NQ just clear. Nope, wait. Did we clear the high? We did clear the high right there. Okay. So ideally we stay a little bit more bullish. Notice that we haven't closed above this fair value gap once. So that's first presented. We've been holding it. Right, we're getting the wicks above it, but if we can truly close above that, we should get a nice release. So I'd like to see that in NQ. Closure above that fair value gap, that'll cause release here in ES as well. Should partial us out, and then from there, just becomes a waiting game to see if we can get the 4-hour fair value gap. Equal highs still, so yeah, we should blast through those. Give us one more handle, please. Oh, this is going to be a dangerous spot here. Very easy rejection spot. I would like to get that partial off before we move stop loss. But if we're getting stuck here, we might just have to move stop and cut some of that risk. If we close above, we'll let this go one more candle. If we can get closure above an NQ, we'll look for closure above these equal highs in ES. Well, that's a short-term high being cleared right now. Closure above, no closure above an NQ. I do like that. We have the volume imbalance, so we should attack this high one more time. If this turns into a no wick to the upside candle, that'll be very unfortunate. That'll be pretty bearish, actually, so we should get a good indication of what price wants to do here following this candlestick. Yeah, with NQ closing above, we should get another expansion. Volume imbalance. We do have a fair value gap here. We could trade into that. Here. That would need to hold pretty much. We don't want any lower than that. It's going to be a bad sign if we get lower than that, especially no wick to the upside, negating the bullish volume imbalance. And if NQ closes back inside that fair value gap, that's that signature we say we don't really want to see. We want to see candle respect this and close above it again. At least on it. Okay, so that's fine there. We respect the fair value gap. We need to see this be attacked though. I don't like that we created a short-term high inside that. As we said, that's going to be a strong premium. This could very well hold us. send us lower. We just could not get our 5 handles. We're going to leave it. We can get choppy and retest this 2-minute here. Especially with what time it is, 10:25. So we could be chilling until 10:30 to create the opening range. If we're still in this trade by at 10:30, we should be okay because this low should be protected at that point. So if we're going to be off sides, price should make a pretty quick move to try to attack this low and attack this low before 10:30, in my opinion. Especially after coming off of first presented like that. In reality, we don't want this wick to be traded below. This should be our protected low, as we said. So if we get below that already, we'll be expecting the stop out. Retesting midpoint. Let's see if we get below it. Officially below it. We'll see if we stay. Oh, we're staying heavy. Yeah, so we'll look for the stop here. We'd have to reject and pretty much hold the volume imbalance and first presented. That becomes our new area. We have to hold that. This needs to be a turtle soup and maintain that range and hold the actual first presented here. If we can do that, we still have a chance. Okay, we held that. I don't like that we got below the actual low, though. It's going to cause some type of resistance, right? This wick will turn into a bearish gap because we've closed below it. So more than likely, it's going to offer resistance. It's going to accelerate us, as we said, before 10:30 into this low, create that new morning low. And then from there, as I said, we'll just be done. Fell just short. Still have a chance, of course, but now we're looking a little less likely that we get back up here. This candle would pretty much have to negate this candle and try to close back above midpoint of this wick. That's the only way that we're still trusting this entry at all. Same idea in NQ, would have to hold that fair value gap. We close below that. We're going to come back for this short-term low here. And just stay choppy. It was midpoint. We do hold it again, so we are trying to hold first presented. This would really have to be the swing low for us here. So we'll see if this can create the swing low. If it does, we might have a chance. But notice within the wick itself, we're going to have an actual bearish fair value gap. So double premium now. We need to get above both of those. If this candle can get above those, we're still going to have this fair value gap. Right, so we have a lot of premiums now. It's not what we wanted to see. It's going to be very easy to hold those. NQ closes below the fair value gap again. We're at a point now to where if we were to get back above really this wick, retest this fair value gap, stop will be put to this low here. But not looking too hot. We need to get above. Oh yeah, we're holding that nicely. Holding it here. Ooh, we held that perfectly. Yeah, that's going to run bearish. So perfect midpoint hold. Body doesn't even get into that. That's bearish. We're going to run for the slow. Just a matter of if we can hold first presented. Last line of defense there. All right, if we can invert fair value gap, we have a chance here. Need to invert. Said it's going to be 10:30, so it's not... We didn't clear that low. I'd like to see that be our morning range low. At this point, if we break through this and clear that low, we're just going to continue to more than likely fall the rest of the morning. I'd like to see us make a quick effort to run back into first presented. And then we'll just look to full pull. We'll just close fully at 5 handles if we can get that again. $10:30 now, so yeah, this candlestick will let us know. Honestly, we should probably run this low out at 10:30. bearish volume imbalance. More than likely we fall through. If we can hold this and close, that'll be the 1030 candle. From there, we'd want to see immediate acceleration, pretty much. What we're going to do is we're going to close. If we can get break even, we're going to try to close one, cut risk. If we get the stop, we get the stop. 10:30 now, right? So at this point, we're consolidating too much. As we said, if we can stab up into the high of this fair value gap, we'll try to partial out. Just close one, cut risk, and then we'll allow the rest to run. But I don't like that we created the equal lows here. Yeah, that's ugly. And we're holding that fair value gap still. So more than likely we run lower. Back-to-back bearish volume imbalances. Not showing good signs. I don't even think we'll get the partial off first. We might just fall straight through here. Is this frozen? This hasn't moved at all. Huh, that was weird. Ooh, yeah, especially if we're going to hold that volume imbalance. That's a no good. Terrible. So back-to-back volume imbalances. Stay open. Bullish volume imbalance. See what we get. Equal lows. If we're gonna clear those equal lows, we'll get stopped here. Oh, that's the low of the first presented. That's pretty much our last area defense. Right, that needs a hold right there. We've seen it before. Price is precise. So if it wants to be perfect, oh, there we go. Fine with me. Get me out. So we're out there. Loss on that one. Fell just short of our partial up here. Right, so the entry is fine. I'd take that again. Held out well, just didn't get the expansion we wanted to see. As we said, that first presented becomes kind of the roadblock once again. Holds us there. And we revert right back into fair value gap. So we continue to consolidate there. Overall, good day. Right, first day back. Still nice. Nice shorts here. Originally looking for longs off the opening. Once we fell through the 4 hour, that was our flip point. We left a nice premium volume imbalance anchored to the low of the 4 hour. That would act as an inversion. Had a short-term high there as well, so that becomes turtle soup. As we said, easy entry to enter on that. We catch the swing high, and then we exit on that low of day. So good trade overall. Second trade, as we said, good entry. I'll take it again. We catch that swing low. We just don't get the release we want. So yeah, we are content with today. Tomorrow, as we said, we have FOMC. What else will we have? Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll just come back in the afternoon, right? For FOMC, I don't like to be there in the morning. It'll be like a power hour stream, last hour and a half of the day. So plan to meet up tomorrow morning about 2:30 Eastern. Right, the FOMC starts at 2, and then there's a second stage at 2:30. So we really have to wait for both of those before we look to interact. So yeah, we'll be back about 2:45 in the afternoon tomorrow, Eastern time, and we'll see what power has to offer us. Appreciate you guys joining this morning. Glad to be back. Hopefully you found it helpful. And yeah, have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk tomorrow, everybody. Take care.